We're so quiet. Good morning, everybody. That's right. Good morning.
We're missing Rachel. One more person.
See her right there. She's coming through the window right now.
Bruce, you need to tell a joke or something.
That is not my forte. Anybody? No jokes anymore. Here we are. Greetings and good morning. My name is Bruce Jarrell. I have the pleasure of hosting this session with the governor and Ms. Rachel King. It's all about biotech and bioinnovation. We have quite a few guests here, and I want to welcome our council persons and our state delegates, among many others. This is about Maryland. This is about one Maryland. This is about the biotech community that sits in this city and in this state, and how wonderful it is, what a great resource it is. We have great connection with the university next door. We have great connection with the city. We have good connections with the biotech community. We just heard about a lot of that at our roundtable a few minutes ago. And we have great leadership in this state to move forward. So we're here to have a fireside chat. No fire, but it's a chat to meet with Governor Westmore and Ms. Rachel King to talk about biotech and what's in the future for Maryland. So please welcome the Governor and Rachel. And I will start with the Governor. Welcome. Welcome. We just had a long discussion with a number of CEOs in biotech communities. What did you take out of that? What's your take home on all that?
First, just want to thank you and for your leadership and the leadership over at UMB. You know, we are in such a special place at such a special time. Sorry, is this better? And you know, and I get a chance. You know, one of the joys of this role is you get a chance to be around people who inspire you every single day. You know, you get a chance to see that we have real work to do, but you also get a chance to be around the people who are willing to do the work, and people who are willing to choose Baltimore, people who are willing to choose Maryland, and not simply because of altruism, but because this is a great place for businesses to be able to grow. And so having a chance to be around some of our startup CEOs and also our large company CEOs, highlighting the fact that we have a lot to be proud of, and you know that Maryland right now, you know, is number 3 nationally in biopharma, number 2 when it comes to life sciences. When you look at the type of technologies and innovations that are taking place in the pipelines that are being created, whether you're talking about UMB or whether you're talking about Johns Hopkins, or you're talking about the platforms of higher education and opportunities to really be able to develop talent exists here. But it also, when I was here, there were a few things that came out as glaring. One is, how can we be deliberate about making sure that we're increasing access to capital to our small businesses and our entrepreneurs? How can we make it easier for our business to grow, and that includes things like the regulatory red tape and how complicated it is at times for businesses to be able to grow and sustain? Why it's important to make sure that we have and make Maryland a better ecosystem for follow-on capital, that you can provide capital to your small businesses, but as those businesses continue to grow, as they become you know, accretive, and as they become profitable, that there's far too large an ability for other places and other jurisdictions to pull them away. And then also, how are we making sure that we make an entire ecosystem more hospitable? And i.e., knowing that Baltimore, in every way, shape, or form becomes a recruiting tool and not something that people have to explain. So we have to do all these various things simultaneously in order for our state to be able to compete. I think about the state of Maryland, like we are asset rich, but we're strategy poor. And there has to be a measure and an element of connection that I think we are planning on, we continue to move aggressively on. But you realize that the beauty of the room that we were in before is you had government, you had the private sector, you had large businesses, small businesses, you had nonprofits, you had universities, you had everybody. And that's exactly what's going to be required in order for our state to be able to win inside this moment.
Thank you for that, Governor. Now, we probably have 50 biotech companies here. We have CEOs, we have not-for-profits, just as you said. And you just talked about a strategy. How can we play a role in your strategy? How can we make that our strategy?
Well, I think that the way that we can make it part of a larger strategy is first understanding that it is not my strategy or the state of Maryland's strategy. It's a collective strategy, because every single piece of input has got to be both informed, has got to be formulated, and has got to be executed by everyone who's involved. If you look at what we're in our first months in, looking at things like the Innovative Economy Act that was passed, right, that we introduced, that we authored, that I personally testified on behalf of, and that we proudly signed. One of the 10 pieces of legislation that our administration actually introduced was focusing on things like how can we introduce new capital and be very direct on the industries and the growth industries that we are going to build out on. One of the things that I think that we've got to do a better job in centering in when it comes to our plan and our strategy is we need to identify where the assets are and be willing to invest in those, because that's the only way the jurisdictions win. So for example, you look at what happened in Kentucky a decade ago. Kentucky made a choice that they were going to start investing in EV battery technology. Kentucky is now the national leader in EV battery technology. That did not happen by accident. It's because they made a decision that that was going to be a growth industry, and they decided to invest, and Kentucky won, right? You look what happened in Boston. Boston made a very deliberate choice to say that, or Massachusetts made a very deliberate choice to say, we're going to focus on biotech. They looked at the fact that they had these higher institution assets there, and they said there's no reason for other places to be able to beat us. They started investing in it intentionally, and now Massachusetts is now looking back to see where other states and other jurisdictions are. That did not happen by accident. They made a choice. And so when we're talking about the plan that we need when it comes to biopharma, when it comes to biotech, when it comes to life sciences, when it comes to quantum, these are elements and areas that we have a specific competitive advantage in if we choose to invest deliberately and not do the peanut butter politics and kind of spread everything evenly. That's not going to make you win. And so that is part of the larger plan that we have on board, and where we think that this collective energy and the collective feedback and the collective intentionality is going to be important for us.
Well, there's a lot of collective energy in this room, and I'm sure we're all very enthusiastic to help you with this. Yes. Rachel, you're an entrepreneur. What does it take for an entrepreneur to survive in this economy? What could we do better? What's been really helpful to you?
Well, so this has been, it is a challenging economy and a challenging time, as we've been talking about today. And I think Maryland is a great place to be an entrepreneur, in part because it's a good place to start a business, but also because it's a great place for people to live, communities where we work and communities as where we live. I actually think that I love your idea of a high-level strategy, Governor. I think that would be a great thing to work on together. I also want to commend the governor for some of the things that have already been started in the administration. I think the innovation infrastructure bill that you mentioned is very important. I think your focus on STEM education support also very important, because we need to raise up that next generation of young people who are going to be our employees and our leaders in this industry. We also had a rare disease advisory board that was formed recently. Rare diseases are very challenging to target. They need special incentives to industry in order to be able to address them well. And I think that's one of the things that can be helpful. We also had a biomarker bill, another really important piece of legislation to ensure that biomarker testing is done so that we can gather the data that will be important in developing new drugs. So all of these are pieces of the puzzle, and I think we need to continue to work together to identify those. I love the idea of coming up with an overall strategy that we could work on together to really think collectively and broadly about what would be beneficial for the industry within Maryland, and I know you've got a lot of enthusiastic people here in the room who would be delighted to help to contribute to that.
And you take a look at the biomarker bill, I should say first, thank you for your leadership on that as well, because the biomarker bill is something we're very, very proud of. Without the people in this room, that bill does not get pushed, that bill does not get passed, right? So that's what we mean by that measure of collaboration. And that became a bill that became, in many ways, a first of its nation type of bill that got passed. But again, without the people in this room, that bill does not get done.
I also think that the governor said it well this morning. We were in one of these conference rooms up in the building across the street, and we could look over at 4 MLK being built and see the physical presence of a new building here growing in the biopark, which is really exciting. And I think what you said was to point out how so many different people and parties and groups have to come together for something like this biopark to happen. And this is something that's been growing for many years here in Baltimore, originally under, I think, Martin O'Malley's leadership when we got started. So, we have the legacy of leaders before us, and now we have an opportunity to carry this forward. But clearly, I think it is going to be a collaborative effort that's going to require many different types of organizations, many different types of skills, and we're really excited to be part of that.
Governor, one of the things you just passed was the Build Our Future grant program. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how that applies to both the companies in the room, the CEOs, as well as the universities in the room?
Yeah, well,
Governor?
In fact, I'm hoping there's people who are benefiting from the Build Our Futures grants already, because it's now open access. So basically, what's happening is there's $10 million that's going towards our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, the people with ideas. And I think the beauty of the program is actually this: it's not exclusively for businesses. It's basically just saying, bring us your best ideas, whether they come from universities, whether they come from nonprofit organizations, social service organizations, whether they come from businesses, whether they come from large entities. Bring us your best ideas when it comes to a growing economy that's going to focus on elements of life sciences. A growing economy is going to focus on elements of biopharma. And these are the things that we want to be able to fund. Part of the reason that we wanted to build this out is, we very much look at this thing like it's, I think one of the best analogies we give, it's like 5-year-old soccer, right? And hear me on this. It's 5-year-old soccer, there are no plays. Every kid just runs to the ball, right? What we want to be very intentional about is we want to create the ball. And then you have leverage and follow-on capital that continues to then run towards it. That's when you have the entrepreneurial energy and the educational frameworks that then run towards it. So when we're saying that we are helping to make the ball biopharma, life sciences, quantum, these other elements that we know that we have a natural distinct advantage in, and then you watch how additional follow-on capital, private capital, philanthropic capital, all these things then move towards achieving the ball, because if there's one thing we all want, it's leveraged capital. And what we're able to show, both with this type of initiatives, both of the Innovative Economy and Infrastructure Act, that we have a unique opportunity from a state perspective to create leveraged capital. We then want to say, what are the focus areas that we want that leveraged capital to be able to focus on? And so that's why, that's why the Build Your Future grants, and that's why these type of things become so important, because it's really helping to establish what the ball is going to be for Maryland to be able to win this next decade.
I think we have time for maybe one question. Rachel, do you want to find out if somebody's got a burning question?
Sure. Any questions out there? Any questions or comments anyone wants to share?
Any thoughts about creating a joint venture commission in private sector and public sector to discuss strategy in the future?
Yes, thank you so much. And in fact, one of the first executive orders that I signed actually focused on that exact element. Was how exactly do we create better bonds between the private sector, government, and nonprofit sectors. And in fact, one of the things that came out of that was something called the Maryland Economic Council. And so the Maryland Economic Council is really a first of its kind council, where it's really about how do we take a macro understanding of economic trend lines and be able to break them down to the micro investments that the state can then make. It really formulated from an idea and from a concept of saying, on a federal level, you have things like you have the National Economic Council, you have those type of things where you can get an understanding about everything from what is going to be the role of interest rate movements to what becomes the role of regulation and competitive climates on certain industries, But on the state level, we didn't have that same type of framework. We do now. And so the Maryland Economic Council is actually exclusively focusing on how do we come up with strong partnerships between government dollars, government frameworks, the private sector, and also our nonprofit partners to be able to identify best practices and then be able to put capital towards those best practices. So this is a group that is now a few months old, as you know, it's been in office for a few months, but is actively working on that exact issue of creating stronger ties and partnerships between the private sector and government.
Seems like our time has flown. Was that one other question?
Artie Santana from TECA, and I have the distinct honor of serving on the Life Science Advisory Board with Secretary Anderson. My question to you, and I think Rachel, you have served on that board before.
Yes, I have.
My question to you is how can we help you, the LSAB, because we represent all of the university systems, but also the life science industry in the state.
Well, one, I can tell you, you already are, because anyone who is willing to raise their hand and serve the state, we appreciate it. You know, if you look at people who are serving, whether it's on the life sciences board or any other board, we don't pick people who aren't busy, right? You know, each and every one of you, it's not like you don't have 15 other things that you're doing with your life, and you're choosing to add one more very important thing to it. And so, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because we appreciate it, because I believe deeply that if Maryland becomes the state that serves, Maryland will be the state that wins. And service includes things like people saying, I'm willing to volunteer my time, energy, and intellect towards a really important cause. I think the big thing is how are, you know, whether you're talking about life sciences or other entities, how they're working closely with our Commerce Department and also with the second floor. I take this deadly seriously. I'm very competitive by nature, as Secretary Anderson knows, as all the other governors in this country are learning very quickly. And there's no reason why this should not be Maryland's decade, none. And so the ability to be able to remove the barriers, reduce, you know, regulatory barriers, infuse capital into an industry that I think is going to be incredibly important for us to be able to succeed in, and making sure that we know what are the things that can be done, whether it's via legislation, whether it's via operational decisions, whether it's via executive orders, that can be done to make life a little easier for life sciences. That kind of stuff is going to be incredibly important to us, helping us to understand what do best practices look like that you're seeing around the country that we should be adopting, helping us to understand which places can Maryland move forward and move faster than other places are things that we need to be able to understand. So your service in doing it is important, and I think being able to make sure that both on the commerce side and also on the second floor, that we have a very clear understanding of which things we should be pushing and pulling on in order to help us to go faster.
Yeah, perhaps I could add to that, because yes, I did serve on that board some years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it is a great place, as the governor said, to really coalesce those ideas and to think strategically about what we could be doing for the industry in Maryland. I think, you know, when at Bio, sometimes we like to talk about the industry, and we like to think about how we have the ability to heal, to feed, and to fuel the world. We talk a lot about health in the context of the BioPark, but biotechnology also obviously is an important element in sustainable agriculture and in getting us away from fossil fuels. So we have a lot of opportunities, I think, with this industry to really change the way that people live, improve people's lives, and also to add to the growth of individual communities, because we are a great employer. The industry provides something like $20 billion to the state of Maryland and over 50,000 well-paying jobs in the state. So I think we not only can improve people's lives, but through the work that we do, we can also improve the economy through the contributions that the industry can make. So I also am a huge booster for Maryland. I grew a company here and have been here for many years and love what we're doing in the state. And I think that biotechnology is going to continue to be very important in the country, and I think Maryland is going to continue to be a leader in the industry. I think the council can really help to leverage that.
Great fireside chat. Thank you for doing that. We have one last thing. Jane, could you come forward? Every student who comes to this campus in the health area, including high school and elementary school kids, gets a white jacket. You can't come to UMB without a white jacket. So,
Oh, my goodness.
so we have a white jacket for you. I don't know that you have to put it on. But that's the market. That's what happens when you go to UMB.
Flip it over? Okay. All right.
Oh,
All right. Oh. Oh.
looks pretty good, don't you think?
I love it. Hey, wait, take a picture and show my mom.
It's not a real doctor. Let's get that straight.
Wait, don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so
Rachel,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
And
And also, I just want to say to everybody here, thank you for your work. Thank you for your investment. Thank you for believing. All right, this place is special, and the reality that you all are building here, and we talk about this idea of being able to invest in things that might be at that time sight unseen, where we can go all around this area, and we know that I love seeing all the cranes.
yes,
And I love seeing all the development. And I love knowing about all the businesses that are going to take place here and all the capital that it's going to generate and all the jobs and opportunity that it's going to drive. And you're doing it in a community that deserves it. You're doing it in a community that is going to thrive. You all don't have to be here. For each and every one of you, I know that you are probably fielding calls every single day from additional jurisdictions that would love to have a conversation with you. And I love the fact that for each and every one of you, it's the shortest conversation that you're going to have all week. Right? Because you're here. And we appreciate it. And we're going to build together. And we're going to build something pretty special that each and every one of you are not just going to be proud of, that each and every one of you are going to be responsible for. And so this is our time. And so we're grateful for all you all continue to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
so that ends our session. There's a press event across the hall in the Discovery Room. Thank you all for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you all.